Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Wednesday, October the 19th, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I appreciate all of you jumping in here early with me on this Wednesday. We want to get after it, get the entire table set for the day in the main slate of 12 games in the NBA. First full slate of the season, and we're very excited to bring that to you. So sorry about the confusion. Yesterday, we were going to do a late night podcast for today's slate, but we just didn't feel that all the ownership numbers were up. We couldn't get a good feel enough on the pricing for the slate, etc. So we will not be bringing those the day before. We're either going to bring them at our regular podcast time, which is 4:45 p.m. Eastern every day. That's going to be our normal time. On occasion, we'll throw a morning one in here when we have multiple sports going or all kinds of other things here at Coach Talk. So just to let everybody know how the week's going to roll out here, I am doing some traveling in the next couple of days, have some business opportunities here with Coach Talk and some other things we have going on. And not that I'm going to be missing much of anything. I'll be involved with everything that we're doing. I'll be supplying lineups, doing podcasts, all of the fun stuff as normal. We will have some little bit more participation by Deb and Crash and Steven handling a couple of extra pods and some other things going on. So just to give you a feel for the week, and then everything will get back to normal this weekend as far as our regular type day in, day out schedule. But really for the NBA, our goal is to get that 4:45 p.m. spot squared away so that everybody knows where we are and when we're going to post. So for those that are watching this recorded, I apologize you didn't get to catch it live. I know this was earlier than expected. For those that are in here, appreciate you guys jumping in early. But we're going to go through all 12 games. I'm going to touch on everything, do a pay up value and fade play as we always do, and sort of put the pieces together and get this ready. Last night was a little difficult, not a good night, but I'm not a big 1 or 2 game slate guy. I'm okay with it. I could get it done, but I prefer the bigger slates. Is those that watch often, the bigger the slate, the better for me. And when we have double digits, that is my sweet spot. So with 12 games tonight, a lot of good competitive games, a lot of high totals. There's a lot of things for us to look at and take advantage of for sure. All right, a couple of things. Let me say hello. Jim Parrish was the first one in the mix this morning. So congratulations, Jim. You're the defending Jeopardy champion here. Todd, who lives for Sundays, my man is in here. Great to see you, buddy. Aloysius 5, of course, an NBA brainiac like me, no doubt about it. Of course, Rodney Pollard and Boy from Cali. No podcast complete without the two of you guys. And Fear Money Entertainment LLC has jumped in. So I expected we may have a slow beginning of the pod. Hopefully people drift in. And then for those that miss it, you'll be catching it on YouTube, Twitter, on our website. You can pretty much catch it everywhere. And even if you're just going to listen to the audio version, you can catch that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are heard. So on the way in here, really appreciate it if you can give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. That's extremely important to us. And then hit the little alert in the upper corner. That really gives us a big boost with all of those things. And a comment. If you can give a quick comment about the pod, any questions, anything like that, really the algorithm reads all of that. Who's logging in, how long they're logged in, are they subscribed, are they commenting? So all of that really helps us. And we are always going to bring these 7-day-a-week podcasts in front of the paywall to you. and we want to just keep growing the family here for sure. So, all right, a lot to talk about today. Let's dive right into the mix here. And as for those that remember last year and then some new for this year, what we're going to do is go through game by game, and we'll talk a little bit about the spread of the game because it means a lot more in basketball than it does some sports, because that total is very important. I mean, there's a big difference in, for example, the third game we're going to talk about has a 233 total. The first game has a 217 total. You know, you look at 16 points difference on that total, what is set in Vegas, and they're the best. They're phenomenal at setting those lines. That's more DFS opportunity. And, you know, you have to qualify all of that in your when you're breaking everything down. And if you use optimizers and all of that, those tools, statistical analysis, I'd strongly recommend it. It does take a lot of those pieces into play. And then we'll discuss them more here, because what it doesn't take into play is are some of these coaches different? Is the personnel different? I mean, some teams beefed up on defense, some teams went the offensive direction. So those statistical pieces are not going to normalize themselves for quite some time. It's going to take really a 25% of the year before at least I feel comfortable with what those expectations are. So we'll be following all kinds of statistical analysis once we have some firm numbers to look at from this season, like defensive real plus minus. That's a huge one for me because it ranks by position and by person, how they're defending in that system. So somebody that could have been a good DRPM guy last year might not be very good this year because the system he's in. So a guy like Patrick Beverley, for example, he's usually always very high on that list. And now we'll see with this new situation, is that going to make sense for him in this role with this team? So all kinds of things that we'll be looking at game by game. Certainly how teams defend per position. Definitely can really quickly find who struggles on the interior. And you have to grab all of those extra rebound points, all the different statistics that you can narrow in on. Where's the weakness? Where are we going to attack? So just to give a, since it's our first full slate, just wanted to give a little information there, and also let a few people drift in. JT, good morning, man. Great to have you with us. All right, small crowd this morning, but that's okay. You know what? There's power in however many numbers we have. And we will get back to those afternoon pods and we can get it pumping and going in here. But for anybody catching it during the day, just catch this pod throughout the day. And you can post questions in here. I'll be checking those today as I'm traveling, and I'll be answering those as well. So King of Smack, good morning, my friend. All right, you ready? I am ready to go after this slate. Game one, Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons. It is a Detroit by 3, a 217 total, so fairly low. Looks like we're going to, and these are all obviously not confirmed lineups yet, but I'll give you my feel on it. Looks like guys that are out for Orlando for sure are Fultz, Harris, Isaac, and Mo Wagner. So definitely some depth issues there. Suggs is back after that knee injury in preseason. He's expected to go. Anthony Suggs, Franz Wagner, Banchero, and Carter expected to start for Orlando. And then Detroit has Bagley out. He hurt his knee in preseason. Burks and Livers not playing. So it looks like starting is going to be Cunningham, the rookie Ivy, who I'm very high on, Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich, who they stole from Utah, and Isaiah Stewart. And so great rotation, great depth here. Really like some of the people off the bench for them. And we'll start talking more and more about benches and rotations as this goes this week, as we see some of these, because some of them have been announced. Some of them we don't know for sure. Like last night, shout out to Deb, tip of the cap. She was all over the James Harden call. So, Deb, you are awesome. And she was the one that was saying Harrell was going to be a key rotation player for them when it was between Reed and Harrell and nobody really knew. And she knew it. She was right. But some of these like that, you need to see play out just for a couple of games. You want to take advantage of that. We will, but we also want to make sure we're giving you solid, solidified information. I was very high on Weissman and Kuminga off the bench and Moody, the youngsters. They're going to play a big role. But then, Kerr had mentioned that he was going to play a little less minutes for his main guys. Some of that changed. So again, coach speak is one thing. Watching it and seeing it happen is another. So we're going to follow that closely. We'll adjust immediately and we'll get these things done for you. So a fairly low scoring game here with Orlando and Detroit. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how, Detroit really plays for real now with Ivy in the starting lineup. They do have a depth at guard rotation wise, but I think Cunningham, Ivy at his price is very doable. Isaiah Stewart as a cheap center, very possible play as well. I do like Wendell Carter a lot on the other side. I think Banchero's very good. We'll see if his price is right, though. It's a little bit higher than I thought for a rookie should be immediately, but he will be one of the top options. Cole Anthony, always a possibility. Certainly still one here. Cunningham and Ivy, one thing they both need to work on is a little bit stronger defensive prowess. So even though this isn't a key game as far as total, wouldn't mind grabbing a one-off from each side here. I think these teams are going to play hard and really try to open it up and score. I'd like over in this game actually as well. I think they'll score a little more than Vegas thinks. All right, game 2. Washington Wizards at the Indiana Pacers. We've got Kispert out for Washington, and then we have Carey probable for Indiana. We've got Tice out, and then we have Jalen Smith and Aaron Nesmith are questionable. I think Smith's more on the probable side than questionable, but we have to follow that. And then Queen is probable. So it looks like, in my estimation, the starters here, Morris, Beal, Barton, Kuzma, and Porzingis. Halliburton, Duarte, Hield, think Smith does start, and then Miles Turner. So you got a 227 total here with Washington only a 1-point favorite. So a close spread, a pretty high total. Good game to target. I look more towards Kuzma here than Porzingis inside. I think Turner's presence as a shot blocker and his length, being able to get out and guard Porzingis at the 3 could give him a little difficulty. So Kuzma, I think a stronger play. Beal, he missed some preseason. I don't think he's going to be in full throttle in game 1, so I'm not going to spend up there. I am intrigued a little bit by Monte Morris because he's been handed the position. There was always divvied up time and everything in Denver. So I do have some interest there for value on Monte Morris. On the other side, Halliburton is their man. I mean, Brogdon's gone. Nobody's standing in Halliburton's way. He's a great play. I think he's a terrific play today. I think he's a good play in the beginning of the year here. I think he's going to be their best player. I mean, he was behind multiple guys before that are not there anymore. So really is Halliburton's team, in my opinion, and I think he's a good play. Duarte, Hield, they're going to get shots up and not bad players. Smith's, if he plays, is going to have his hands full with Kuzma. And, I want to make sure he's going to get enough minutes. For some reason, the way Carlisle coaches at times, he limits guys on minutes. And that seems to what he does with Smith a little bit. So I still want to watch that a little closer. Miles Turner, playable, but, my only concern is he does get in foul trouble at times. And I think if, when Porzingis is off the court, he'll probably come off the court. So not just a complete focal point for me. All right, 7:30, we move pass after the first two games that start at 7, and it's the Houston Rockets and Atlanta Hawks. We have Atlanta by a big 9.5-point spread, so something to consider, but it's 233. So you got a giant number there. I mean, it's hard to beat 233 early on in the season. You don't see a whole lot of them over 233. In fact, this is the only one on the card today. So how much do you attack this is the big question. As far as the spread, could it be a blowout for Atlanta? That's always possible too, but things we have to take into consideration here. Tate and Ty Washington are out for Houston. Knicks is probable. And then Bogdanovich is out for Atlanta. He's going to be out for a while. But other than that, they're going to have a majority of their guns. I definitely going to have exposure to this game. There's absolutely no question about it. Now, Atlanta hasn't had this squad together for real. They've got DeJounte Murray and DeAndre Hunter. Those are two of the better defenders in the league to me on the perimeter. And a lot of people aren't talking about that. It's always talking about how explosive Murray and Young are going to be as a backcourt. But don't forget that Murray is a lockdown defender, and so is Hunter. So I think you're going to see the most improvement for Atlanta come on the defensive side of the ball. We know Capella's, older, doesn't have a ton left, but he's still a damn good defensive center in this league and has a good presence inside. Collins is a shot blocker. Okongwu gets after it when he comes in. So Atlanta's, a team on the rise, one of the teams I'm going to look at a lot. And I do think their games will be, high scoring, but I think you're going to see those 233 kind of numbers like in this game going to start dropping by a few points because I think their defense is going to be more in control. And so I think that's going to be a really good thing. I will say this, though, and this is an important point. So everybody take note of this. I've been screaming for a change of the rules in the transition file, take file that they do in Europe. And they finally changed the rule. And it's so great for basketball because you can't take that foul on the transition. So they got to play it out. So teams like this with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray pushing the ball and guys like Collins and Hunter filling the lanes, you're going to have some explosive games from these guys. And Houston, the same thing. And you got all these young babies, Porter Green, Jabari Smith, all these guys are so young and they're going to run the floor. And without that being able to do that stupid take foul, you're going to get some more transition points. So again, another reason to focus on this game as a possible play for both sides. I think Jalen Green would be one of my picks here. I think, I believe that DeJounte Murray's going to guard Kevin Porter. That's just my gut feeling. And Trae Young, Jalen Green. Now, I've seen the matchup listed. Other people think differently, and I could be wrong. I mean, we got to see how that's going to play out. But I'm anticipating that, and I'll be following those matchup news as it comes out today. But for that reason, I like Jalen Green a little bit here. Porter, Green, Gordon, Jabari Smith, and Şengün looks like for Houston. Young, Murray, Hunter, Collins, and Capella for Atlanta. I think Şengün always possible, but Capella is a pest inside. But I'm not sure Capella can get out there at the 3 and guard Şengün. He's more of a post defender than perimeter anymore at this point in his career. So Şengün not out of the question, but he's not 100%. He was dinged up a little bit in preseason, so it might be a wait and see for a game or two on him. The question is Trae Young going to be as explosive with those big 60 burgers and things he puts up, or is Murray going to take a little bit of that action away? That is going to be an interesting thing for me. The guy I'm leaning a little bit more towards here is John Collins, just because of the matchup. Take advantage, even though Jabari Smith is going to be a tremendous defender in this league. He's not yet. He's just still too green. Probably could have used another year of school, to be honest with you. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a transition for him. I think Collins is in a smash spot. So he is my top play on that side of the ball here. I will have exposure to both sides, not stacking anybody right now. And we'll get into stacks. Is stacks important in the NBA? Absolutely. You do need to make some stacks, teams that are going to blow out numbers and be in close games. That's going to make a huge difference. You can still cherry pick lineups, hand build them, and put them together. As far as stacks go, though, I generally my philosophy is two guys on a big slate like this. Take the two you really think they're going to smash. You take two guys, and hopefully they're the two that smash it the most. Because if you go 3 or 4 and that game blows out or anything happens, you're completely dead in the water. Now, smaller slates, 3 games, 4 games, 2 games, yes, you can stack 3, 4 deep and give it a run. But on the bigger slates, you'll see my strategy is generally, if I'm really loving a team, 2 guys are generally where I'm going to go. 3 at the very, very max, and it has to be under certain situations and the way that comes together. All right, I'm going to check real quickly here. Pain Blank SM, good morning. Dead Presidents also, as we would say. Absolute Power. Mr. Few, how are you? A man of few words, I would assume. Earl Tyson, what's going down? Gizmo Perk. It's okay that you're late. We're going to keep going over this. I'm doing this earlier than normal, and I just appreciate everybody that's jumping in and catching this. So good stuff. All right. How about we go to game 4? We'll get halfway through, get through 6, and then let's go over ownership a little bit. Talk about how that's shaping up, because there's some really weird initial ownership numbers here that make it very easy to be contrarian today. That's what I'm going to say. All right, let's go to game 4, and we even have a confirmed lineup here. How about that? Shout out to the Chicago Bulls for putting their starting lineup out yesterday for today's game opener. So that's pretty cool. 7:30 Chicago at Miami. Miami's favored by 7, and you have a low spread here, 216.5. So definitely something to be concerned about there. And you've got that confirmed starting lineup of Dosunmu, Levine, DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Vuk. And then on the Miami side, it's not confirmed yet. Lowry, Hero, who's in the starting lineup now. Butler, Caleb Martin, who's in the starting lineup now. So 2 differences for them this year. And Bam. So a couple of things here. I do like to pick on Vuk defensively. So Bam is in play for me. I think that, again, he got that. We talked about it in the preseason when I went through all the teams. But Udonis Haslam's been the captain there for about 15 years. He passed that to Bam this year. Bam's the leader. He's the inside presence for this team. And, he'll be backed up by Yurtseven, who's out, by the way. So Yurtseven and Oladipo are out. And then, of course, Lonzo Ball's out for the Bulls probably for quite some time. Levine is going to play, even though he's dinged a little bit, and Caruso's playing. So, as I was saying, I think it just shines a light on Bam to step up and have a really good game. And even though it's a lower scoring game, I think Bam is up for a big double-double. He's going to be considered in a lot of my lineups today. He's definitely one of the bigs that I like. From the really after that, though, I'm a little concerned that this game stays lower scoring, and I respect the defense from Dosunmu and DeRozan, Patrick Williams, Caleb Martin. There's Butler, of course. I mean, there's just a lot of really good defenders in this game. I don't want to spend up the big money, as I mentioned, on the preview show. Levine, DeRozan, and Vuk are pretty expensive. I'm just not there yet with them. And against a team like Miami, in Miami, not going to spend up for those guys. They could all do decently, but I just don't see from a collective how to narrow to just one to make sure you're going to get value there against this defense. I do like the fact that Hero's in the starting lineup. I think if he is going to take advantage of taking more shots and being more aggressive offensively, he could be a good play at his price. And I think Caleb Martin is a cheap value guy that you can also look at. But very little exposure here. Very likely a Bam play for me, and that is it. All right, the Pelicans and Brooklyn Nets. We have Brooklyn favored by 2.5, another big number here, 230.5. And it seems as though we're going to get some higher scoring games in these Brooklyn games. They're going to be pushing and scoring the basketball. Projected lineups here: McCollum, Ingram, Herb Jones, Zion, and Joval. And then we have Kyrie, O'Neal, Durant, Ben Simmons, and Nick Claxton. So that's projected. Guys that are dinged a little bit for the Pels: Jackson Hayes is questionable. I read he may play off the bench. Kyra Lewis and Liddell are both out. And then the guys we know are out for sure for Brooklyn are Seth Curry. I have Joe Harris listed as out. Somebody said yesterday or whatever that he was playing, but I thought he was not going to play just yet. If I'm wrong, let me know in chat. I'd be happy to correct myself. But on my sheets, I have Curry, Harris, and Warren not playing right now. So let me see. Let's see what anybody else has to say in here. Earl Tyson. Oh, you're the manager at Dick's Sporting Goods. Very nice, man. Glad that you're listening in though here while you're working. Can you hook me up with some the new Luca shoes? I could use them. I'll have to see if I can get a discount from you, bro. Hit that button, guys. Yes, I appreciate it. If you hit the we're not getting a ton of thumbs up. And I don't have the big, huge crowd in here like we do because it's morning, but good enough that we can still get some more thumbs up. Heat do play slow. We know that. That's been forever. No doubt about it. All right. Getting back in it here. Let's go back to go to the next game here. We've got in this Pels game with Brooklyn, it's the big question is how much are the Pels going to spread it out? With Zion there now, it's different situation. I mean, you've got McCollum and Ingram who really carried the show when Zion was out, and then you had a lot of presence inside from Joval. My concern is I think the Pelicans are good. I did hear on TNT Barkley picking the Pelicans to win the West, which was, kiss of death when Barkley picks you. But anyway, I want to see if Zion stays healthy, number one. They say he's good to go. I still think he's going to be a little limited. I don't think they're going to push him over the top. So I just don't think he's playable yet. But I think that his presence takes a little away from Joval inside, and sharing those rebounds is a little bit of a deterrent for me. If Jackson Hayes somehow isn't going to play, which I think he will off the bench, that would escalate Joval for me a little bit. But when you have Zion and Joval and then Hayes off the bench, those guys are all capable of double-digit rebounds on any given game. So a little concern there. Herb Jones is just an all-around glue player, not as great of a DFS player. I mean, he'll have his occasional game, but he's going to be the fifth option on the floor for them offensively. Let's face it. So he's going to get his off of transition, defense, steals, that kind of thing. And very spot starts for me. As much as I like the guy, he's going to make very few rosters for me. Still high on Brandon Ingram. I just think he's a stud. Now, he's going to grab Royce O'Neal defense here, so I'm probably not going to be focused on him in this situation. The guy I sort of like is CJ. I think this just feels like a CJ game. Kyrie's not a good defender. And I think that the fact that they're going to have, Herb Jones busting it against Durant and O'Neal against Ingram and Ben Simmons and Zion and the bigs in the post and all these other matchups that are going to be really good, intense matchups. I think you may have some CJ McCollum playing some open basketball here and maybe a very low-owned sneaky play. Kyrie on the other side, it's still the Kevin Durant show. And like I said the other day, the dude just plays a million minutes and he gets up a million shots and he does everything. So Durant's certainly a pay-up option. Unfortunately, you can't go to all the pay-up guys. And as much as will often have Durant as my pay-up, he's not going to be my go-to pay-up today, but I think he's a great play. I really do. So good high total here. You could get to a guy or two on each side and feel very comfortable with it. you can eliminate the guys that are in there strictly to play defense. Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, Herb Jones, mainly. Those guys aren't playable, but the other guys, they're going to score the basketball. They're going to get up and down. Both teams are going to play in transition. And I think this could be a key game on the slate. No question about it. All right, we go to the another 7:30 game. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. We've got Toronto, a 2.5-point favorite at home, 213.5. So we've got a dog game here, the lowest total on the board. So is this a complete pass game? It doesn't have to be a complete pass game. I don't have anybody in my initial build from this game for a couple of reasons. One being the pace of play, and two being that I do respect these defenses. I mean, I think Jared Allen's a phenomenal interior defender. Mobley, LeVert is not, but in the backcourt, you got Garland and Mitchell. So you're going to have a lot funneling into the paint to Allen and Mobley to defend from there. Perimeter D definitely is a little bit of a question mark there. We know Mitchell can defend when he's completely 100%. They say he's 100%, so we'll see how that goes. On the Toronto side, though, we know Barnes, terrific defender, and Trent can get at it at times. Van Vliet, even though he's smaller, is very adept. So you have two well-coached, well-defensive played teams here that'll keep the scoring down. And some of these guys are pretty expensive. Van Vliet, Siakam, Garland, they're all pretty expensive. I do like Jared Allen a little bit. And part of the reason that is because they're shorthanded big-wise. It looks like Kem Birch and Chris Boucher are going to be out, and Otto Porter. So that's three rotational bigs for them, which really puts a lot of pressure on Siakam, and it makes Barnes play the 4 rather than the 3, which he can play both adeptly, but when they can use him with his length and size at the 3, it makes them better. But, with those bigs out, I think Allen is a possible play. We talked about Siakam, and he is a bit of a ball hog, and he's going to be shooting the ball a lot. And but Allen's long. Allen makes you change shots. Siakam likes to drive and force the ball up. It's tough getting the ball over Allen in that scenario. For Siakam to smash that big salary, he's going to have to be red hot from 3. Not that he can't, but probably not going to go there here just because of that interior defense from Allen and Mobley. For Cleveland, out is Windler, Rubio, and Decade, who they re-signed. Garland, Mitchell, LeVert, Mobley, and Allen. So good squad, but here's the thing. They're going against a team that plays slower in Toronto and plays good defense and is well coached. And they have to define roles here. Garland was their top scorer and their leader, no question. Donovan Mitchell comes in as a multiple all-star that has to have a good chunk of ownership of this team. Karis LeVert's a pure scorer, but is he going to get enough opportunities with all those other guys on the floor? And then you have to feed the beasts in there with Mobley and Allen. So I like Cleveland. I'm high on them. I think that they're going to beat Toronto in this game as an underdog. Not that that's solid gold, because I said that last night and with an underdog and that didn't work. But I just think they're a good team, and it may take them a while to gel. But DFS wise, I say all of that to say it makes it very difficult to focus on anybody. Jared Allen being my number one option as of right now. All right, let's go to, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6. So let me check what else we got going in here. Boston was a good stack. Yeah, 2 gamers you can definitely stack, and you're going to, how often are teams going to shoot almost 60% for the game? That's ridiculously bad defense. Philadelphia, I'll tell you what, Harden was phenomenal. I don't want to get off track, and Embiid's awesome, but they better figure out what they're going to do defensively and getting other people involved. Or they were my pick for number 1 in the East, and they did not look like it in game 1. Best value on FanDuel, Mr. Tyson. I will share that in here. I'll give you some FanDuel picks for you for sure. Is Ja going to feast on Jalen Brunson? I don't know about that, Rodney. Jalen's not a bad defender. He's a bull. He's strong. Jaw's quicker, but you got to remember, their defensive, they're really well coached. I love the Memphis coach, is one of my favorites. They have a good interior help defense. So and as far as stopping Brunson, and far as stopping Ja, you're saying for the Knicks, that could be the case because if he does get by Brunson, he does have Mitch Robb back there to block some shots, though. So I think that there's a possibility, Ja could go off every game. I wouldn't say that Brunson is exactly a guy to pick on, though. You'll see in DRPM, he's not that low rated. He holds his own in there for his size. It's just Layla, longtime listener. All right. Fantastic. Since hoop ball, holy crap, that goes back like 6 years, something like that. Wow. Thank you for joining and listening in and jumping in. It is fantastic to have folks from way back like that. I love it. Well, welcome to the family, Layla. No doubt about it. All right, let's look at some ownership numbers and talk about that. We're 6 games through, 6 more to go. I bet you I could have bet somebody $1,000 and they would have not picked who was the first guy, the highest projected owner for this slate. It's hilarious. And I don't understand it for the life of me. But this is why we're going to kill this. I'm telling you right now. The number one projected owned guy is Maxi Kleba. He's not starting, people, for Dallas. He's $4,100. He's 38% projected ownership. I don't play him. Don't play him. I'm telling you. So I hope that happens. And this is why we have the family here to share this stuff. This is perfect. Devin Vassell, 33%. He could have a big role there, as does Trey Jones. I get those plays because they don't have anybody else. It makes sense. Kevin Porter, 25%. Again, it's all going to be which guy does DeJounte Murray guard, which guy does Trae Young guard. I'm projecting the other, the other direction there. And I think DeJounte guards Porter, so it puts Green over him for me. Other guys, I'll give you all these top ones just to give you a feel for it, because you don't have to worry about fading chalk. Let me just say, you can play who you believe in and not really stress about it. Kelden Johnson is next at 25%. So you have 3 of the top 5 Spurs because they are so pathetic. Somebody has to score. Those are their 3 best players that I mentioned, Vassell, Jones, and Johnson, but they're awful. Pop plays a million guys. I don't trust those guys. I don't trust Pop. The game blows out. He's going to play everybody. They don't care if they want to win. They want Wembanya or whatever for next year, who's going to be the best player in the league in a few years. So don't stress the Spurs ownership. You won't see me going there. So no fear, no fear. Kate Cunningham, 7K, I think at 24%. I think is a smart play today. I think that ownership makes sense to me. As much as I love Ivy, it is Cunningham's team, and Ivy's got to get his feet wet a little bit here. So somebody I could get to, Jakob Poeltl. So we have 4 Spurs. Good God. Oh no, don't play him. Don't play him. Jalen Green at 5,400, one of my favorite plays, 23%. He'll be in the majority of my lineups. Too cheap against a fast-paced, high-scoring game. Here's a lock washer for me, guys. Lock washer. Terry Rozier, 7,300 against the Spurs, 22% of the lineups. He'll be in every lineup for me. No LaMelo Ball. He's out with a bad ankle. The Spurs aren't going to defend well. I love Rozier here. I think 22 is too low. I'll again, for me, when you look at these percentages and you talk about people building 150 lineups, that's great and go for it. For me, I'm going to have probably 2 lineups tonight, most of it on one, and a few changes on a secondary lineup that I'll gear a little more towards GPP. But Rozier's going to be on 100% of them. So there you go. Tyrese Halliburton, I love him as well. 7,200, 22% projected ownership. I think he's a great play. I think that it's his team. The reins have been handed to him. I think, it's going to be, you're going to see him take it to another level this year. They got rid of everybody else. that was stressing his minutes or points or shooting. And I think you're going to see a great year for him. Here's a guy I'm not going to play tonight, though. He's actually my fade player. So of my pay up value and fade player, my value player is Terry Rozier. I already mentioned at 7,300. My fade is the Joker. So go ahead, throw stuff at your phone and computer. The Joker is 10-3. They're playing Utah. Utah has dismantled their team. They are not the Utah Jazz anymore. They have an old Mike Conley and the Clarkson that they're going to trade at some point, and then all new guys, full new reshuffle, all young guys. They have some good young players, but I think Denver comes in, smacks the living daylights out of them. And I'm not afraid, you can't be afraid to look at this and game script out blowouts. And I'm going to game script a blowout here. And yeah, I've had that happen where I game script a blowout, team wins outright. You know what? You can't win if you don't take some shots. And I just don't think that the Joker's going to have to be extended today. I think they smash Utah. I don't think he can get to the 10-3 because of opportunity and minutes played, not because he's not going to kick ass from everybody on the floor, because he will. I just don't think to be over 20% owned and 10-3 is going to have enough opportunity to get there. So for that reason, he's going to be my fade. That's my sense. That's my game script. That's the way how I'm going to attack that. Everybody knows Bam Adebayo's the next guy, grossly underpriced, 6,400. He's almost $4,000 cheaper than the Joker. 4,000, and he's about the same projected ownership at 21%. At that price, at center, he's going to be in my lineup. Then you've got a couple other ones. Last couple I'll go through. Josh Hart at 5,200, 20%. Risky because we don't know how much of a role he's truly going to have now that they have this new look team put together. So look, jury's out there. Again, like I said the other day, though, he can grab 12 rebounds as a guard in a heartbeat. So always playable. Siakam, I mentioned, 7,600, people say too cheap for him. Well, it probably is too cheap, and they're short on bigs. I just don't like the matchup and the pace of that game, and I like the interior defense from Allen and Mobley. So I'm not going to go Siakam, but I do think he'll get that 20-plus ownership. And then the last guy is Luka Doncic at 10-2. And trust me, I am not a homer, even though Dirk may say different. But I'm a Mavs fan. Yes, Luka's my favorite player. Okay? Put that aside. I faded him a billion times last year, and I would fade him if I felt he was the fade. I think he is a great pay-up play today. He's my top play on the slate. He's 10-2, so he's $100 cheaper than the Joker. But here's the reasoning. I think it's going to be a close game. Phoenix is okay defensively, but they're not knocked down, drop dead defensively. Jalen Brunson's loss to the Mavericks is going to crush the Mavericks this year. I don't see them going to the Western Conference Final. I know Dirk's swearing at me and yelling and all that. I'm just saying, he dominated the ball, dominated play, ran everything when Luka wasn't in there, and controlled pace and everything. With all of that gone, I don't particularly feel like their other guards are going to be able to take that role. And that's my biggest concern. So what it does is I think the Mavericks are going to be hurt by it. I have them like 5th or 6th in the West. I still think they make the playoffs, but I don't see them going as deep unless they make a move. But it inflates Luka's DFS value to me, even more than it was. He was getting these ridiculous 40-point triple doubles and all that insanity, and he had an adept backup and running mate in Brunson. Now you've got an extremely inconsistent guys around him. Yes, it's going to be great to have JaVale McGee at defense and to throw some lobs to, and it's going to be great to have Christian Wood to get some big buckets, but he doesn't have any perimeter players to count on. I do not trust Hardaway yet. He's coming back. He's a streak shooter. We don't know if he's 100% yet. We don't know how those guys are going to play and step up. They haven't been in this situation. Can Dinwiddie be that guy? Maybe. I haven't seen it yet. So my bottom line is I think this game stays close enough. I think Luka goes nuts. And I think that he's just in a position similar to Giannis, and where he's got to dominate play, and similar to the Joker. But this game for the Joker, I think they kill their opponent here, and that changes the setup for me. So, like I said the other day, those will be the three guys that are going to be pay up a lot for me. But it depends on the matchup, and I like this matchup. All right, I'm done with that. So we checked all that out. Let's see. No way you can't fade the Joker. He's going to score 20 fantasy points in 8 minutes. Okay. That's my point, boy from Cali. If he gets 40 fantasy points in 20 minutes and then they don't need him that much because they're up 20 or 25, then what are you going to do, my friend? When he's that kind of price and taking that center position, and you're not going to get 65 or 70 from him, that's what you need for your pay up guy. So if that game doesn't stay close and the Joker doesn't play down the stretch and you don't get that 75, I don't think 53 is going to get it done for me, sir. And so that's my feeling there. And it's going to be, on each one. What are your best FanDuel plays? Earl Tyson is having a FanDuel heart attack. My friend Earl, you know what? I am going to do this right now because Earl's always in a dead straight panic that we're going to talk FanDuel. And I can't have that for one of my favorite people. So this is what I'm going to do for a second, off script here. And just for you, my friend, let's take a look at a few of my favorite plays on FanDuel as it sits right now. Luka at 10-9, I think, is a very strong play for a pay up option. Then I think you start getting into a few plays that you can seriously consider because the price. Halliburton at 8,000 on FanDuel, I think, is a sensible play. I think Bam Adebayo at 7,900 makes perfect sense in this matchup. I think he can take real advantage of the interior there and do well. CJ McCollum, I believe, is underpriced at 7,300. Wendell Carter at 7,100 is going to be low owned and sneaky, as is Jared Allen at 7,100. I think those are guys you can talk about. Jalen Green, 6,400, a strong play today. John Collins, too cheap, 5,900. Sub 6K John Collins, I think, is too cheap. I think you got to give that some consideration without question. And then you get guys like Lugens Dort, who we'll talk about at 5,500, is a steal. Mikal Bridges at 5,400 could have a really good game against the Mavs at that price. Sadiq Bey's only 5,200. There's so much value that your teeth are going to fall out. You can buy up because there is cheap value all over the board. Youngster Jaden Ivey at 4,700, although probably not going to quite go there in game one, but you can at least think about it. I think that gives you a good idea. Cam Johnson, 4,300. I think he's going to hurt the Mavericks. I think he's, his starting role now that they got rid of Crowder. I think he's a really smart play. And then, you're going to have a smattering of super low price guys that you can slide in there as well. So there you go, my friend. That was just for you, my man. All right, let's go back to the breakdown of the games because I'm going way longer than I thought I was going to do because I am like that. No matter what I say, I just never quite get it going. All right, 3D Block Turd is with us. I love you, man. And now that I know how to pronounce your name, I am so glad that you are back. All right, the crowd is growing. People must be waking up and getting with it. They're going to have their lock those lineups. Hey, real quickly, and I know I'm so bad. Get in there every morning early. Lock in your contest. Don't horse around because if you're not going to get the contest you want, especially on Yahoo and FanDuel, you get more options on Draftkings, but on all of them, I always recommend by 9 a.m., all of my contest selection is done. So that's off my plate. I just hold it with holder lineups. I don't put anybody in that matters. Then what I do is after the podcast and looking at the first injury report and going through the brushed up ownership, then I'll put in my sort of lineup. And usually 2 or 3 changes happen. But that progression has been very successful for me for 7 or 8 years. You get the contest selected. Because if you're scrambling after work to jam in a contest, you're going to get screwed over and play the wrong contest, get in something bad. Play the single entries. Get yourself in a position where you're not trying to win $1 million for a single $4 bullet. That's suicide mission. Get yourself in some good double ups or head to heads where you can get that cash in there. So get the lineup set. Just put anybody in it. Then as the day goes and you get through the podcast, you get through some of the information, you get the ownership, you get all that info that we're sharing in Discord and everything we're doing, then get that lineup in there. And it's not going to be your final one, but you're going to be close. And then as things roll down, we get the final news. It always breaks late in the NBA. You get the final coach speak, the beat writer stuff, which we're going to follow all that for you on Twitter and all social media. Then when we start giving you that information, that's when you lock that final lineup in. And then it's not over. That's the old NBA. The old days when you put your lineup and you were stuck with it. You've got to follow NBA through the night. So I know we all have families. We all have things to do. But you have to keep an eye on it, because if somebody gets eliminated out, it's one guy that makes all the difference in the world. Not like it's okay, I could have done a little bit better like in baseball. You got a guy that got a double and another guy got a single, and you can live with the single. It's not like that. In basketball, a change happens, a guy sits or somebody else is elevated. That one player is going to take you from out of the money, zero money, to eat all the way to a possible takedown. That's how important it is. So we'll always follow that news for you. In basketball, Crash, myself, Deb, we're on it 24/7, and we're going to be posting everything in here. Okay. I've really got to get going here. No more messing around. All right, we're going to go right to the next one. We're halfway through is all. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go faster on these 6, I promise. Okay, the next game up is the New York Knicks, Memphis Grizzlies. We touched on that a little bit. Grimes out for the Knicks. Brooks questionable. That's the news that we need. That's one of those that you got to put a circle around because it matters a lot. Green, Jackson, and Zaire Williams is out for Memphis. That's always screws people up. Memphis is favored by 5. It is a 226 total, so one of those tweener games. Brunson, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Robinson. We know Tibbs plays his guys a billion minutes. He will do it with these 5 guys. Brunson, Barrett, Randall, always going to be targets for me this year because they'll be 3 of the top 5 or 6 players in the league in minutes played. Mark my words. So they're all playable tonight. And Fournier, Robinson, if you want to take a shot there. Robinson can get there, but he can also pick up 3 fouls in 14 seconds. So risk reward with Mitch. Ja could be a great play. I don't think he scorches Brunson as bad as someone said in chat here, but I do think he's a fine play. He's expensive. It's a commitment, but I think he's certainly somebody you could dial up. If Brooks doesn't play, I always play Desmond Bane. I did the same thing last year, and it almost always works. If Brooks does play, then probably won't go there. After that, not really interested in any other Grizz. I know Aldama's cheap, and he's going to play good minutes. Adams always possibility, and Conchar. I get all that, but Clark off the bench, just don't want to go there with 24 teams playing tonight. Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota T-Wolves. Minnesota monster favored, 10.5. Could we have a blowout issue here? Possibly. 226.5, decent total. We have no injuries for the young Thunder with Shea playing. So SGA, Giddey, Dort, Poku, and JRE. For Minnesota, it looks like it's going to go Russell, Edwards, McDaniels, Towns, and Gobert. So can't wait to see this Towns Gobert thing. Going to be very cool. Eric Pascal out for Minnesota. It's going to be interesting. It really is. Giddey's the triple-double waiting to happen. But with he and SGA in there, and SGA sat out a lot of preseason, I'm more comfortable with Luguentz Dort. I think he's their captain. I think he's their main guy. I think he's their grit and grind guy. I sort of like Lugensdort in this game. I know it sounds weird, but at that price, I mean, it showed he's getting some ownership. I think that he's a decent play. Not Poku and JRE have to go against Towns and Gobert. Good God. Towns is going to be popular and he deserves to be. I'm just concerned. Like I said in the pre-show, how much is Towns and Gobert going to snipe rebounds and blocks and different things from each other? How much are they going to get in the way of each other in the paint? I just don't want to spend the top dollar on Towns or Gobert. They deserve it because it's Oklahoma City and they're terrible. But here's the other thing. Minnesota could just kill them. They really could. They're so much better. And you take the aspect of they're going to be sniping each other in the paint, blowout potential. I just don't think I want to spend up for those guys in this game. And then Russell and Edwards, it's always a little difficult because either one can go off on any given day. I do think Ant's going to have a giant year, but he does have like 7-8 minute stretches where you're like, is he on the floor? Where is he? It makes you nervous. So I just, I'm not going to probably go there. I'm really not. I think you're going to get a lot of people going to T-Wolves because they're expecting them to just murder the Thunder. And it could happen, but I think it gets divvied up and I think the game could blow out. So I'm going to game script every day, people, and I hope you enjoy it. You can tell me go pound salt, hey, you're crazy, coach, but I'm going to give you what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing, what I'm watching, and then you can interpret from there. And I'm going to be always convicted to what I'm going after. And if I was to step out on the floor and coach the game, this is what I would bring to the table to coach the game. So that's the approach I look at. And then you just layer the DFS right into that. All right, Charlotte Hornets, San Antonio Spurs. We've got the no spread I have right now because I think it should be like 20. The Spurs are by far and away the worst team in the league. It's a 224.5 total. Terry Rozier, my top play on the board value-wise. I think you got to plug him in. I'd love to have a second Hornet as well, either excuse me, either Oubre, Hayward, although that weird haircut for Hayward's a lot to stomach. PJ Washington, somebody like that. I think a second Hornet's not a bad idea. But here's the thing. Blowout City, they play a lot of guys. The reason I want to go to Rozier is because I think he's going to be part of the reason the big blowout happens. And I'm just comfortable with that flat out. And San Antonio, like I said, they're 4 of the top 7 owned right now because Jones, Vassell, Johnson, and Pirtle are the only 4 players they have, and then a rookie starting. And the rest of their guys are worse. So I'm not going there. I still think Pop plays a lot of guys and they get blown out. And it's just that simple. All right, a quick check. Let's see what's going on here. Younger in all games can be faced. Let's see, Vegas, Boston, Philly. Yeah, and part of the first of all, don't overreact to one games. I know I do that. Everybody does that. Everybody's saying last night, oh, Philly sucks. They're done. They're 0-1. I mean, you got to let things play out. The rule where they took away the transition take foul is going to make games higher scoring than they were before. Vegas has already adjusted. I've looked at the numbers. So there's not a big advantage betting wise there, but there is DFS wise because some of those points haven't been adjusted yet. And I think that what you got to look at there is you're going to get some higher pace games and some more scoring from some of your key guys. So keep that in mind. Hartenstein, I love, but he's going to split minutes with Mitch Robinson. That's why I'm not playing either one of them. Towns is a shooting forward, correct. But remember, he is a self-made. I won the 3-point contest. Now I'm making a lot of threes. Shot over 40% from 3 last year. I get it. But his whole entire life until this stage of his life, the majority of his points were cutting to the basket, getting the ball in the block, finishing at the rim. So he's not just going to be a face-up shooter. So remember that as you're watching this, he's going to get a little 2-3 happy at times because Gobert's in the paint. So let's let that develop and see how it works out. I think it takes a little bit away from him initially. That's just how I feel. Gobert rules the paint, yes, but he's not an offensive threat. They play a whole quarter and don't give him the ball once. Unless he gets an offensive rebound or something, it's like he's just, go like when you have a big guy that sucks on your rec team, you just stick him in the paint and say, just get every ball and then give me the ball and get out of the way. It's sort of the way they treat Gobert. I hate to say it, but he is defensive player of the year multiple times and a great rebounder, but he is not an offensive player, and nor will he ever be. But we'll see how that mix works. All right. We move forward to, let's see here, Denver and Utah. The Nuggets, a 7.5 point favorite, 223.5 total. Again, I game scripted this one for you already. I think Utah's in big trouble. Conley's old. They're not going to push him. Sexton's going to, chuck and duck a bunch of shots. I like Markkanen the best of anybody on this team by a long shot. I really like him. After that, though, they're just total rebuild. They have 1 million draft picks. Ainge cleaned house. You're going to get Vanderbilt, Olynyk, a bunch of young guys. I think Denver kills them. I think Utah's in for a very long season. They almost won 50 games last year, and they completely imploded that whole squad. Who knows this? Who had a better record last year between Utah and Denver? Utah won 49. Denver won 48. Amazing. Now Utah has nothing, and Denver's loaded. Unreal. So here's the thing. I'm not going to focus on this game. Number one, I don't think it's the fastest paced game. Number two, I think it's going to blow out. I'm fading the Joker just because of that. And I think you're going to get some, help from Gordon and Porter. KCP, a nice add. Jamal Murray is going to be back into the flow, not dominant, but back in the flow. Great pass game for me, maybe Markkanen. And other than that, it's going to be moving on. All right, Dallas Phoenix. We get into the 2 10 o'clock games now. And this one's going to be fun. I'm going with Luka as my pay up. I think he's going to have to, for them to have a shot to beat Phoenix, he's going to have one of those monster 30 plus triple double kind of nights for sure. And I think he's very capable of it, with Bridges guarding him some, that slows him down at times. But I think, the key factor is he's playing it at an elite level right now. He's matured. He's in shape, which he's come to camp the last 2 years fat, and he's not fat this year. So I think he's going to get out of the gate way quicker and play much better. And they're going to want to, come out and show something right off the bat. Jay Kidd, Phoenix ties. It's an important game for them to come out and play well. And I think Luke is going to have a great game. Not touching anybody else from the Mavs. I do not, like I said, I don't trust Dinwiddie, Bullock, Finney-Smith, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. McGee's going to split time. They're going to rotate a lot of other guys. I mean, DFS-wise, it's Luka or bust for me, unfortunately. Then for Phoenix, you've got, of course, the regulars, except you got Cam Johnson. And Finney-Smith's a great defender, but I think they're going to put Finney-Smith on Mikal Bridges. And so I think Cam Johnson could have a nice game here. We'll see how they rotate it around. Not going to go Booker, though, because Reggie Bullock he's a hound defensively. Dallas can defend. That's the other thing. They do have, with the interior defense of McGee, and of course, playing against Phoenix, he's going to be fired up. So I'm not touching Ayton at all. And so I think, you're going to have good defensive matchups, a good fun game here. It's only 216.5, though. So I really think Luke is the play, possibly Cam Johnson on the other side. And that's really about it. A lot of contributions and good defense, though, on both sides. All right, we finished the slate with the Portland Trail Blazers and the Sacramento Kings. And it's a nice 226.5 total. And Sacramento actually favored by 1.5. So this should be a fun game to roll with. Projected lineups are Lillard, Simmons, Hart, Grant, and Nurkic against Fox, Herter, who wasn't looking like he's going to play. Now he is going to play. Barnes, Okpala, and Sabonis is what I have listed as of right now. So we'll see how these rotations develop. I think Keegan Murray's been ruled out from what I see right here, which sucks because I wanted to see him play. I really think he's going to be a good one. So especially with him out, I think Fox and Sabonis, major targets here. Major targets, Fox and Sabonis. I could play both. This could be the stack team, if you will. I could play both Fox and Sabonis. Those are the two guys I would go to on that side of the ball. For Portland, Lillard looks focused, in shape, healthy, determined. Uh, I think he's a great play on any given night. Tremendous play tonight. So I'm going to be. Don't sweat if you have coach talk lineups in there and you're worried we're in the middle of the pack going into those late games or toward the bottom. If we have Luka, Lillard, Fox, Sabonis, a combination of those guys, we're not going to be high up, but we're going to finish high up. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to be focused on these late games. I really like the matchups for these two teams. I think Portland, Sacramento could be an over kind of game. And I think you could even go to a secondary guy for Portland if you want to dial up a cheaper Simmons or Hart. Or even a Nurkic, but I'd prefer Sabonis on the other side. All right, my friends, I didn't want to take too long, and I know I went a little longer than normal. Hopefully that gives you a really good feel for this slate. We're going to be breaking this down every day. Most of the time, it'll be Deb or Crash with me, and we'll get a little counterpoint going back and forth on some of these guys. And then on some days, like, I'll jump in here solo and just spill out what I'm looking at as far as game scripting and how I believe that some of these games are playing out. As far as, again, my pay up is Luka, my value is Rozier, my fade is the Joker. And I think you're going to have, some real different scenarios here today where some of these higher owned players are not going to perform. And I think you're going to have people stacking some teams that they're going to look at the situation with who should I stack. Let me pull that information. Somebody just asked about it. Let's look at ownership on stacks real quick and see what we got here. Because, again, I don't believe on gigantic slates like this of really going after four deep or whatever you're looking at stack wise. I think you got to be a lot smarter and maybe go with two guys, something like that. Let's see, ownership projections. I'm trying to find the stack ranking and I don't see it at this moment. So let me just give you my input. I'll share those. I'll share that later as well in chat. But for me, I like that late game of Sacramento and Portland. I think that's one really good game you can go to that can give you some good builds. I think that makes sense. I think I would steer clear from stacking that Charlotte San Antonio game like a lot of people seem to be going to initially. You can stack a few Knicks just because of the million minutes that I expect that they're going to get played. People are going to stack the T-Wolves. I'm afraid of that because blowout possibilities there. I'd steer from the Chicago-Miami game just because of pace. I think another great stack game on both sides are Houston and Atlanta. I think Houston keeps it close enough, and I think there is potential there for a couple of guys to go off on each side. But I'm probably not going to stack that game, but it makes sense to do that. And I don't think getting out of the chute, you have to really be super afraid of Washington and Indiana's defense. I think you're going to have some scoring there. So, again, I'm recommending 2-2 kind of stacks, 2-2. If you want to go 3, I wouldn't on a big slate like this. I know the big boys will tell you to do that, but if you want to take down a bullet and you get a game that goes double overtime on pure luck and you roll with somebody like that and you're trying to win 100,000, yeah, you got to take some of those shots. You want to build bankroll, go from 500 to 5,000, then you want to, be a little bit smarter about it. Smaller stacks, I think, are going to get you to that point. And that's really the way to do it. That's the way to go through and build a really strong bankroll. All right, let's see. Todd's got to go. All right, Todd, man. Coach with no Jaren Jackson and Aldama starting. Clark, a $52 million extension. I'm not going to play Clark. As much as that coach loves him, $52 million isn't that much anymore. All the other guys that are key guys or six men like Poole got over 100 million. So I think it was a bargain to get him at 52, and they never play him extended minutes. Clark is one of those guys. They have decided that he plays best in bursts, gets about 20, 25 minutes a game, unless they're really shorthanded. And in that time frame, he's very effective. When they play him 35 minutes, his production goes way down. So Clark's not going to be a target for me. Kuzma, definitely a target. I think he could be a very strong play on a game that I expect some really good pace. All right. I think I answered all the questions. Sorry that we had to go so early today. Hopefully this helps you get some really, really strong lineups. We'll be posting lineups later, and I will be on the move, probably posting lineups in an airplane. So we'll be doing that 60,000 feet up, hopefully having that 60,000 of winnings to match it. But appreciate all of you. Thanks for all of the thumbs up and listening and questions. And let people know on the way out, hit the thumbs up. If you want to join us, it's dfscoachtalk.com. Join us with the Lucas special, as you can see going across the screen. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And I'll be back again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA, DFS, and Boom Fantasy.